So let's call this meeting to order and get it started. First up on the agenda, and I believe the only agenda item right now, is open discussion on the amendment to the bylaws, or at least discussion amendment to the bylaws. Is that correct? Are any amendments proposed?
That was going to be one of the things that we covered tonight, but I think, in all, it's a little more broad in terms of, we're just going to talk about what worked, what hasn't worked, look at our bylaws, see if there's something in there that can make the system run better than it does today, and then, kind of just take that pause, strategic planning.
Yeah, and I wanted to set it up so we had more of a workshop style here, but I got caught up in some other stuff, so I didn't get a chance to do that. I'm Gary Palmer, I'm the city administrator here, and the reason why we want to have this workshop with y'all is obviously we've got some changes that are happening with the EDC, with the loss of the president. This could be an opportunity for us to look at what we're doing, the way we do business, how we're set up. And I really would just like to have an open discussion about what you guys think has worked for the EDC, what hasn't worked. My thought is you guys should probably consider retooling your bylaws, maybe look at bringing on a full or part-time director instead of having a president that's executing your agenda, for many reasons. But really, I wanted to just have this conversation with you all to see where you guys are at with everything and talk about how we move forward.
Okay. Wait, you got anything to add?
I would agree in regards to getting somebody qualified to be a director that has done this before. I think we all know enough to be dangerous, but not know how to take the actions to enforce some of that. The whole reason for EDC is to attract business and industry, things that contribute to the area, and you can be very selective with that. It's not like an open door deal. It's just you're on the table for opportunities that are out there, and you're opening the area to that. Without business, you really don't have much to go on. Everybody, we have some good components in place, but everybody leaves here every day. They don't stay here.
Right.
They go shop and they go spend money south of here, so where they work. And so if you can attract business where you can increase, like for instance, if a company like National Oil wanted to open up a shop here, whether it's industrial or an actual office complex, they attract, or they bring, say, for instance, 300 to 500 employees with them. You want to do everything you can to attract that type of business. If you can.
Are you saying that maybe we should consider getting someone who does this for a living? Or is there such people available?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Economic Development Director.
Correct.
Yeah,
And Navasota is one example that I know most everybody's seen. Probably 5 years ago, it was sleepy little town. Now they have an economic development director.
Yep.
And she knows how to get the grants. She's full-time. She is a go-getter.
Yeah.
It sure would be nice to have someone who's actually boots on the ground and,
Yes.
and moving the ball
And
when we're in between meetings.
Well, and
the
that's-
MEDC can pay it,
Yeah.
Yep.
and we can afford it.
Right.
We just have to look at our budget and see where we can afford it at. And they'll do it all.
Yeah.
They'll go to the city, they'll come to city council meetings, they give their reports, they go out and visit the community, and they'll be with the chamber, which the chamber is good in our area.
It is.
And even Conroe's chamber is always inviting us to stuff with them. It may be time that we think about doing something like that.
Yeah, it's been
They're
a missing
usually
piece.
about,
It's a missing piece, and we should be communicating with the Woodlands, with Conroe,
Right.
on a continual basis. Because there's a lot of things that they can't fit, that could fit here, or we
Yeah.
get a choice, you know?
We sort of,
We've tried to hire someone, we just didn't have the right name or the right duties or something, because
Right.
we've had, what, 3 or 4 different people that we thought was helping MEDC, and then we find out that isn't even their job anymore. So like I say, I'm thinking it's time that the
I mean, we were-
city might need to do that.
We were entertaining the idea of having someone who is solely focused on planning events. And so we were
Yeah.
willing and open to hiring someone. I think it's better money spent on someone who can help direct MEDC while we're doing our day-to-day stuff. From what I could tell in my research, the bigger the city, small city like us, 1 person max, but as you get bigger, like
Yes.
City of Conroe, you have staff and MEDC
Yes.
staff, and they can help manage things. They can help manage the website or coordination with the chamber or stuff like that. So I think it would be a good asset. It's just a matter of what are the qualifications we're looking for, what is the duties and responsibilities that we're going to set in front of this person, and is it full-time, part-time? I assume we probably would want full-time, but open to discussion on that. And then do we have a budget? Where are we taking that money from? Because it's not cheap, so what line items are we going to remove to fund
So
this?
I'm glad y'all are all feeling positive. Texas Municipal League currently has 3 positions listed, open, right? One's in Dayton, one's in Red Oak. Can't remember the other city, and I read those job descriptions. And I've been here 2 years, and all of our frustrations, how do we tap into HGAC? And it's something other than a casual show up, a part-time this and a part-time that. We need a huge economic shot in the arm. The only way to accomplish that is when you look on TML, you got a range of 80,000 to 130. That's your range. So I can tell you right now, that's probably your range. The 80 is going to be down there in the assistant. Red Oak and Dayton are similar to us in size, so somewhere in that low 100. But again, I'm with Wade, and I think what others are, we ought to be looking for somebody who's been there and done that. This is not a place to try out. This is hard, and it's necessary because we've got so many obstacles and such a need to make connections to these places that can help us with funding. So I can just tell you, City Hall-wise, and with Gary on board and the meetings we still have pending and I've already had, I'm really pushing hard for what can you do to get the funding for what you say you can do in our city, right? Whether it's engineers, whoever it is. If you can help us with funding and we could word that so that we could do it. So like, for example, the McCowan project, well, we get spunky on that. 1.1 or whatever million projected. Well, now in today's dollars, probably double that, right? Then I hear things like, for example, was it Mike or somebody who pointed out, and Carol, and others that have been here, other efforts to redo McCowan, for example. The soil's not right, right? So when I see that, I'm thinking, well, we need somebody who can take that $3 million job and say, you know what, I can do it for that or whatever, and I can get you at least half of that as a grant or whatever, and then we bid it that way. In other words, we bid our projects on the basis of people who can find funding. So if we had somebody full-time working those types of connections and whatnot, filtering it out for us, because I can tell you in the school business, a part-time grant writer is not a grant writer at all. And the school districts that were able to bring these monies in had somebody full-time looking for it. So when I read those job descriptions, they want people going to chamber, not just going to chamber, but being well connected with everyone in the chamber. They want somebody in the HCAC, not just showing up on an occasional quarter or even over the internet's not good. They're making relationships. And I'll give you a case in point. The first time, Jeff, I don't know whether I was on council or whatever, but you sent me an email of a battery making company. I followed up on that. By the time I followed up on that, they come back and say, well, we've already decided. And I'm thinking, well, I'm like a lot of us, I don't think electric cars are the end-all be-all, but it does seem that somebody, battery making, how many jobs would that have been? We don't have the staff power right now to really, so by the time I get to it, I lose it, And so I send them a correspondence back and say, what considers for the future? Now, with all of that said, I know this, that we're running out of green space, and we're running out of options, I would think. Dave, would you agree with that? I mean, we've got to be really strategic in how we, do what we do. Again, so this is somebody who has strategies in TIF agreements, TERS agreements, and those types of things as well that can help planning and development with some of the, how do we get from my head, planning and development wise, to actualizing some of the things that we talked about, different levels of home, mid-level. We don't have any townhomes, y'all. We don't have it. So I think it all ties together with some of the problems that we've had, where we have somebody in here that's coming alongside the people who are the nuts and bolts strategy, working with the engineers, who say, you know what, I can get you the money for that, or I can get you the help that you're needing there. There's a piece missing on our staff. So I would say it's
find these people. I mean, is that something that? I know you said there was just
Put a job posting up, I guess.
job listing, but I mean, you're talking about that kind of money. They need to know what they're doing. I mean,
sure.
They need to come in with some experiences. Do they have them coming out from outside the community, or does it really even matter when you're talking?
I think it definitely has to be outside.
Yeah.
The other question is, are there consulting firms that can help?
Yeah.
Instead of just hiring an individual person, we hire a city attorney. They're not necessarily on staff. We're just hiring that firm. Is there something similar for MEDC director?
Could be.
Curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would obviously depend on what the board wants to do, what y'all want to do with this. If it's something that you want to have as a consultant, we could craft up an RFP for a consultant. If it's something you want to have for a direct hire, there's organizations, like I'm in the International City Manager Association, there's economic development associations that we can recruit from. I've got a pretty good network of people that I would put this out to. I'm meeting with the Navasota EDC director tomorrow, just to kind of pick her brain on some things. But yeah, I mean, our jobs are all about relationships, so I would tap into those and try to find the best person.
I think we've outgrown what we had. I think it's time.
I agree.
It's time to definitely get somebody that can roll the ball for us, because
If you go to any city that's doing economic development well, and you know those cities, they're going to have an economic development director.
That was a common. I did some research, and that was a common theme. They all had a director who knew what to do.
True.
I mean,
Yeah.
we live in the
Don't get me
city.
wrong, volunteers, we live and die on our volunteers. However,
Yes.
when it comes to some things, you have to have that level of accountability to make sure that we're getting the work done that
Exactly.
we want to get done, and we just don't have that with the way that we're set up.
Right.
Good deal.
Well, I agree. If you bring somebody from the outside, I think they're going to bring, you just want to check and see what they're going to bring to the table, because obviously we're going to be intermeshing with Conroe, with the Woodlands, with the communities around us. We're going to have something, credibility, whatever, to be able to bring it to the table to where these guys want to get, the other communities want to get involved and say, hey, come into our group, because they all pick off of each other anyway.
well, one of our biggest frustrations has been the lack of traction. We sit, we meet, we come up with great ideas, and then you just send it out into the nowhere land and nothing ever gets
Nothing happens.
done. And month after month after month, we sit here in frustration going, this isn't about, what's the most goofiest costume we can come up with. I mean, we need some true business strategy that helps grow the community, and we just don't have it right now, and we haven't had it for quite some time. So I think we've outgrown what our current, I'm with you. I think it's a good idea. I don't know where to begin, but I'm ready to start.
Well, as far as adjusting the bylaws, I think that we're going to have a professional come in. It's not just us. We're going to say, oh, I don't like this, let's strike this item, do that. I think we need to have someone who is an expert at that and come and give us some advice, bring it to us, and let us take a vote on it.
On y'all had put that in the agenda. What were y'all's thoughts on that? Is this something that's added to the bylaws, having a director, or do they replace the president, or what's the thinking?
So my recommendation to y'all would be maybe the chairman appoints a little subcommittee to work with me and work with Dave We can go through the whole bylaw, we'll pull up some templates from some other cities that we know do it well. I've probably written about 100 charters. We can craft this and bring you guys options, and just have that iterative decision-making process. We're working with that subcommittee, coming back to the entire board. You guys decide whether you like it or not, and then we just keep moving forward from there. If it's, I don't think we're in a big hurry. Are we in a hurry on this?
No.
Well, the council's got to appoint a new committee member, new corporate member, a new director, and then you all, based on the bylaws, then decide who the president is amongst those members, correct?
Right.
I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of pause, decide how we want to be set up, and then just make sure those bylaws are reflective of what we
So
plan on
would we
doing.
make those adjustments prior to council appointing another director, or do we need to go ahead, is there a time limit for that?
I would say we go ahead and go through the evolution of adjusting the bylaws.
Right.
And then, at the same time, we can, I'm assuming the council's going to want to receive applications for a period of time.
Right.
I don't think the bylaw, this isn't going to take, I don't think, an inordinate amount of time, maybe.
No, I mean,
to-
we're just talking-
For us to work all this stuff out, and the council's going to have to approve those bylaw changes, but I don't think that's going to be a very cumbersome process, 2 months. And then you guys can appoint this extra member, or maybe decide to decrease the number of people. At this point, let's open it all up and just make sure the bylaws reflect the work, the way that we want to do work. If we want to replace the president with a director, then we need to change that within there, reflect it. Or just not mention it at all. It really, it's not, I don't see this being a very difficult process. It's just capturing how you guys want to work into a document.
Okay.
As far as the hiring process, it's probably not any different than when they hired you, but maybe not a national search, but a statewide search,
Yeah, I mean, we could put this out, we could put out at a national level and see what we could attract, but,
I mean,
you know, it is, you get what you pay for, so if it's something
Well, right.
that you want,
and I almost think that it makes sense to hire within Texas because they understand Texas, if it's somebody that's been different. Yeah, and, the way the governor works and the way they attract business, it's a bit different than most states. So they're pretty good at attracting business to the state.
yeah.
So, there's a lot of RFPs that go out weekly that probably go to an empty desk here, and so we need to be able to have somebody that sorts through those, and knows how to approach them.
And then if you do a subcommittee with the EDC members to kind of go over this stuff, I would probably suggest that they be present in some of the interviews also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can talk about all that stuff. Tonight for me, I just wanted to find out from y'all what problems have you had in the past that we can rectify in the future? What issues have you guys had as a board? Do you like meeting here at City Hall? Do we want to meet somewhere else? I just want to, while this is all going on, I just want to make sure that we're taking the opportunity to correct things in the right way.
I think we all have a great vision for the city. We just need to figure out how to make it happen.
Have we ever captured that vision in a plan anywhere?
In our last workshop that we did, we had a very good understanding of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. We just didn't have anybody to do it.
Right.
I mean, we know that we want, TERS, we want active TERS relationships, we want active grant, application relationships, and we want all these things, but we just don't have anybody that within our group that's capable of putting the time in.
Yeah.
So I think first things first, we need to find somebody who can work for MEDC and for the city and for the community at large that, like you said, a paid job, and if we have the money to pull it off, I mean, get a few of us who are, who understand how the hiring process should work, and let's find the right qualified candidate and start there, and then we can ink our vision and let them start, deciding which way they want to go and how they want to get there. So,
I don't think we have a written down plan though. I think it's still kind of ether, right? And so we may have different understandings of what our plan is. Is it a desire? I'm an engineer though. I like to plan everything. So maybe not a plan is, but maybe it is the right solution. Maybe we need to have, I saw some cities have an economic development corporation plan or economic development plan in place.
Strategic plan.
Or a strategic plan. We have a city comprehensive plan, but I think that was free by the university, so you get what you pay for. Not to say that that's not helpful, but I've seen other comprehensive plans that are much more comprehensive and helpful. Maybe that's money well spent doing something like that, that the EDC can partner with the city on. So maybe we do need to get together and say, this is all what we agree on. This is the plan, that this is how we want to grow Montgomery economically. Do we want to focus on events? Do we want to focus on developing downtown? Do we want to put in a business park? Or do we want to do tax abatements? Those are all different questions. I don't know if we all are on the same page because we don't have the page to point to. So that might be something also to maybe look into what options are out there as far as developing a plan, strategic plans or whatever.
So we're going to be doing an evolution with the city council. We're going to do some priority setting, kind of doing a hasty 2-year strategic plan. It's just a matter of going through your mission, vision, values, and identifying your goals and objectives. I'm thinking, I like 2 pages because it's something you can have on hand and read through quickly. Once we do that with the city council, what I would like to do is come back with you all and do that same evolution and go through and do a 2-year strategic plan for the EDC that is based off of those priorities that are identified by the city council.
That's a great idea. The city council needs to start the ball because we're sort of beholden to them anyway. And while we have to have the same interest in mind as we're moving forward. We've been saying that from day one. That's why we all got together the last time, so that we can understand what the right and the left is doing, and we're able to sort of coagulate a concerted effort so that we can push forward. So that being said, when do you guys think that y'all will have your plans somewhat, pliable to where we can take a look and see if we can, participate in that?
First week of August, we'll have something on
Oh,
paper.
that's awesome. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well.
We have 10 workshops total through December. So we've already had a couple of preliminaries, and then Gary has brought each one of us to the table over time, exactly like I would hope that we would do, create some buy-in and input as we go individually, bring that to a workshop, get it out there, that type of thing, to try to get a consolidated direction. Toward that end, correct me if I'm wrong though, Gary, that Gary has already taken Patricia's position under the administration. So you remember how we were trying to define, what is this position, what is the job, right? So it's kind of evolved to this deal, and I just want to take this opportunity to get a lot, as a mayor, I get a lot of stuff that comes, and we definitely want festivals. We definitely want activities. We want a pulse to come alive in this city, right? We were effective and have been effective at getting people to visit us. We got America's chart and setting up in a certain business there. I took a picture of it. I put it out there and I said, we're getting people. Well, now how do you keep that going? And people love the festivals. So part of that assignment coming into Gary, they're working already on how that can come together. So this position that we're looking for, in my mind, doesn't have anything really to do with festivals and activities. It has to do with economic jobs. Because what I said, I don't remember if I said it at the trilateral or not, but I did say it publicly somewhere. Maybe it's a chamber meeting, I don't remember. But one thing we have not stopped in, the councils that I've been on, we want Montgomery to be a place where we live, work, play, and worship in our small town in a unique way. Now, that's a summary of the grand thing that hasn't changed in any election. They got to work here. It can't be just, that's why in my mind I thought, well, Lord, somehow draw the jobs here where they don't have to go far, and when they go to lunch, they stay here. There's a lot of factors that come in. We're looking at a city hall solution. If you bring them to the right spot, heck, they may even go to Hodgepodge Lodge. I'm just using that. Yeah, but I mean, and Carol and I have been to spots. I remember going to Fort Bend and seeing how the city hall brought, and if it's not at City Hall, then it's proximal to it or whatever, and the sidewalks factor in. So this whole picture, and that's what I was trying to point out about, there's really not difference in our goals. But you're right, the council starts the ball and then picks it up and finishes it too with their votes. But we're still on the same page in terms of creating those jobs. We've had how many people, Carol, come to the microphone and say, well, we don't have anything for our youth to do. You know, and if I had connections, I'd have me a bowling alley with 5 theaters and bounce houses, and it'd all be in some part of the, I don't know how to do that. I'm just saying.
Have you ever been to Helen, Georgia? And that's the kind of kitschy town, you know, I mean, they just started with an idea. You know, the crazy balloonists who decided to make it kind of like a Swiss Alps village. And all of the, you know, all the buildings, you know, they may not, I know you know, but they may not, but all the buildings are they were all ordained or ordinances to create this, even the Wendy's looks like a Swiss village kind of building. And, but they put activities all around the city. You know, I was reading, I don't know, recently in the news, it said Montgomery, and I pulled it up, but it was Montgomery, Alabama. They put a whitewater river rafting. Did you see that? All the way up thinking, oh, we got a whitewater river raft. But things like that, like what Byron was saying, I mean, getting a reason for people to want to come here, the only way to do it is to create you know, interest, to create activities, and then hold them while you're here. They want to come here. We just got to find a way to, you know, create an interest for them to get here. So anyway, I know that Helen's a little bit far-fetched for us right now, but you know, I say you don't have to be great to get started. You just have to start to be great, and we need somebody to spark us in this way. We're not, you know, we're just business people. We don't have the I don't know, the municipal prowess that you have.
Well, nor do you have the time either. So
Or the time, right, yeah. But we're certainly willing to sit on committees that will help empower. I mean, we want to go forward. We just need someone to help, you know, sort of pull the card a little bit.
yeah, I fully agree. Like I said, I just think this is a good opportunity for us to take a look at it.
Yeah,
Open it up, change it the way we need to change it, and get rolling.
okay.
Keep the momentum going.
Well, are we kind of all in agreement that that's not a bad thing?
That's a good
Anybody
thing.
not think that way? I haven't heard of negative yet, so.
So if you're open to it, like I said, I would just recommend appointing a couple people, maybe work with me and Dave
Yeah.
on putting together what it looks like if we hired somebody, either full-time or part-time.
Okay.
Come up with a job description. We can go out there and look and see what the market's doing. I'll talk to the Navasota director. I'll talk to some other directors. Just get a good sense of what the market's looking like. After we do the strategic plan with the city council, I'll come back to y'all. We can spend a half a day and do one for the
It's a
EDC.
great idea, yeah.
We can incorporate all the stuff we're talking about into that, and I think right around that time should be about the time the council's gonna want to appoint another member. So should be well into it by that point.
Carol, would you be able to give us some guidelines as far as finances go? So what we might be able to spend so that we're not just kind
Where
of
the money might come
making
from, what
a,
line item.
you know, uneducated guess. And then, I mean, I'm certainly willing to be on that committee, and anybody else that's wanting to participate that may have the time or the energy to put to it. But I would love to see us, and plus, as I'm next man up, I can fog the mirror. I'm more than happy to help out in any way we can to find that person. But anybody else want to jump in and be a part of that?
I think time commitment would be maybe a couple meetings.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I don't mind volunteering.
Be happy to.
Hey, you got 3 or 4 people here that'd be more than happy to do it.
Well, I think, what's the committee size, 6?
6 right now.
So it'd have to be, oh yeah, so 6 now, so you can't have more than 3. Can't have more than
Okay,
2.
so more than 3, so,
Right.
Is it 3 or 2?
Right now, you know, 3 would, or I guess I'm probably overthinking it, but, so 3 would not give you a quorum.
Right.
we have to have 4 on
So
our
3
committee.
or less is
Yeah,
what you need.
so 3.
So 3 people on out of our group
Yep.
here. And, well,
Rock, paper, scissors, guys.
yeah.
Yeah, with
I'm not going to burden you with a lot of work, I just want
Okay,
you
so
to.
Dan's available, I'm available. Wade, right?
Either one.
rock, paper, scissors, I don't know.
That's between you guys.
You want an arm wrestle? I would recognize that, right? Let's fix something.
I mean, I think you both have great qualifications, so it's really just up to you, you know? And it sounds like it's not, are you,
Ryan, you live in town, so.
Oh, you don't live in town?
It'd be good to have somebody in town.
all right, well, we'll keep you posted though as to what you'll certainly be posted once we locate somebody, but I think you have some great qualified folks
So
here.
is that Ryan, Jeff, and Dan?
That's it.
Okay. We'll get a hold of you and we'll
3
set something up and start
Musketeers.
working on it.
And do we need to have any type, I don't know if we've done this before, any type of meeting with business owners? This seems to be a frustrating part of some business owners in the community. I don't know if that is the case or not. Maybe we just invite business owners to come talk with us about
Just an
whatever
open
is
forum?
on. An open forum type thing. I don't
Why
know if
not?
that's of interest to the business owners. I don't know if that's interest to us, but it's just a thought.
I think it's a great idea. If you guys have the time to do it.
We definitely need to be talking to them. You just don't want it to become a gripe session, you know? I mean, everybody.
Well, that's what it's going to be.
Exactly. but I mean, we all have, you know, pet peeves about the way things are done, but the way things are done sometimes aren't always the way they look. And I used to have someone I called JTC because they always jump to conclusions. You know, you need to know the whole picture, and the whole picture sometimes, you know, the iceberg's up here, but there's a lot more ice underneath, and there's a lot of things that are moving parts, and people don't understand how city government work, and they don't understand why they're, you know, either being positively or negatively affected by it. So if there's a way that you could create a positive environment where folks could, like in conjunction with maybe Montgomery area chamber, and get Shannon and some of the folks together, that might make it a little bit less of a
At least
you know?
with the gripes, we can at least understand some of the troubles that people are having
That's
with
true.
starting a business,
Yeah, it's good
getting a
intel.
business.
Well,
And that's feedback. I mean,
Yeah, feedback's good, bad, good or bad.
yeah, we can take it. You know, you can take the bad feedback and we can, listen and we can make a decision on whether.
Well, at
it's
least if we
pertinent.
invite them, Ryan, and they don't show up, they don't really have much
Yeah.
to gripe about if they can't come.
Right.
Yeah. So how would we go about doing something like that, Gary? Would we just open it up online or?
No, we would, if you guys wanted to do this in person, we would just dedicate a space and advertise the meeting and just hold the forum.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Anytime we get a chance to include the public in what we're doing, it's a good idea.
Well, I mean, since we're in the middle of a transition, and if we were able to come to them and say, well, these aren't just plans, this is the way we're moving forward, I think having something concrete to be able to share with them, from my perspective as a business owner, I would love that. I would love to know, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that? And if you have answers, you know, I always tell people when they tour our location, the answer is always yes. It may be yes and or yes but it's always yes. And people love to hear yes. So I think we should have a little more traction on what we're going to do so that we can be, so maybe in mid-August or sometime after people get back from vacations.
Have we ever done this before? At an open forum?
We've never done that.
Okay.
I don't think
We've
so.
done developer roundtables in the past. We had some issues with some developers who, again, felt like they just weren't, being heard, from developers to home builders. And so probably 3 years ago, held a series of roundtables, or I guess 4 years ago now, held a series of roundtables, just to let them, share their thoughts on what it was like to do business in the city and to, again, this was specific to development, but the same idea works, with business.
Yeah, and you know that there are people out there who have ideas and they've thought about it. I know that's the reason I jumped on this board. And they feel like, they can't really get traction because they don't have the means to pull that off. But like you said, if we can hear them and we can, as we're finalizing some strategies, maybe incorporate some of those great ideas, that would be, hey, the more the merrier. You can't have enough good ideas. And then you just find the ones that stick and the ones that we can pay for and go from there.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We
Okay.
can, in fact, when you're looking at a strategic plan, that would be one of the elements. How for the EDC, we want to increase our networking and our relationships with our business community. How do we do that? Well, item one would be we're going to have quarterly meetings, open meetings to let people come in and give us their input. We're going to put out newsletters, so that's what I'm talking about in that plan. But we're going to look at the goals, which are those broad goals, but then we're going to define how we're going to get to those goals by those individual objectives.
Okay.
And having those meetings would be one of those objectives. So probably to have a meeting maybe before we get into that plan would be good.
I think so, yeah. I mean, at least we could always come back with a follow-up workshop and say, hey, great ideas, these are some things we've implemented.
I mean, our jobs are all about networking and relationships, so it's,
Right.
anytime we have a chance to build that, I say we take that opportunity.
Okay. Well, just, I guess the next step is pick a date and everybody can make, and let's push forward on, at least as an action item, maybe push forward on getting some folks in the community together, and let's see if we can come up with a plan.
Okay, so I will get with you all about with the little subcommittee about getting together on the job description.
Okay.
I'll do my research on my end, we'll start looking at what it looks like, pulling that data together. We'll do our strategic planning session with the council, then I'll come back and we can set up a time and a date when we're gonna do ours. And then maybe at that time, we can talk about maybe setting up a public forum
Okay.
to open it up to let folks come in and talk.
Well, we didn't have any, we have guests here today, but do we have anybody that needs to speak today, or is it just, was it just us kind of roundtabling here tonight? Yes,
We
sir.
don't know from Cheryl in the back.
It's up to you guys, I mean, this is just, we just wanted to have this conversation while it was fresh.
What about the wayfinding issue?
That's next
Next Monday.
Monday.
Next Monday.
And that's the
5 o'clock.
joint,
At 5, right?
meeting at 5 o'clock with you guys, the P&Z, the city council. For those-
And that's here?
Right, we're going to do it here because of the audio video setup that we have here.
Gotcha.
Over at the community center on Lone Star Parkway, we would have to cart everything that we're using. We don't have the ability to record the meeting over there, so being able to do it here is certainly from a logistics standpoint easier. So,
Okay.
so it'll be here, and so they're going to give us an update. And again, what this is they're coming back with, 2 to 3, concepts, kind of overall, design concepts. And so this is the time, where council, the EDC, P&Z can weigh in on, we either like option A, or we like this piece of option A, this piece of option C, and a little bit of B in there too.
Okay.
So kind of what it's for is to kind of for them to get a pretty good sense of the design of things, so they can start working on the concepts, or sort of the content of the wayfinding signs, the location of them.
Okay, sounds good. Do you
Monday
have
at 5
something?
o'clock.
Yeah, you had your hand kind of almost. It would just happen to be there. You were
Do
trying
you
to
know
think
how
of an
many
arm wrestling.
projects the MEDC has approved and we're working on at this time,
I do not.
other than the signs and the McCowan Street?
Those are the two those would obviously be the 2 big ones, the small
Right.
ones like the, small.
And that was in this booklet that we received, is that right? It's all, both of those items are in the booklet that we received. What's it called? It's not comprehensive plan,
CIP?
but the,
The long, big,
about like that.
Downtown Mountain.
Yes, yes,
Wayfinding is a separate piece out of it.
Yeah.
out of there, yes.
Right, the
Yes.
McCown Street is kind of the first detailed look at a portion of that master plan.
Right,
And
Okay.
wayfinding is something that is, that is related, but not, it's a recommendation out of the master plan, but a separate
Right.
thing that,
okay.
dovetails in that the two aren't,
So as far as you know, that's the only 2 projects that Montgomery MEDC is approved and working on.
Right.
Okay.
Currently, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
There are other things that aren't necessarily a project, again, like was mentioned earlier, with, we want to have a presence in the event and the festivals, and so the EDC is, funding now the position, or have the position to, again, to make sure that those events are still, managed and maintained and
Right.
continually getting better.
good.
Do we know on that list that we have of events, which ones we're still involved in for the city?
Don't know the answer to that.
What was the question, Carol?
You're
I'll get that
asking these
for you.
because you want to know what we're committed to and where the line items will fall,
Right.
I'm assuming,
Right.
yes. Okay,
If we need to find money for this position,
right.
then I want to know what events that we said we might pay for may not need to be anymore. I don't know. I haven't looked at it myself, so I need to look at
I think
it.
it's safe to say, Carol, we'll probably,
And see.
I mean, we don't have anything new coming up, so it may just be things that we've already committed to in the past that, you know,
And
we
that we
had in
haven't,
our
maybe
budget.
haven't spent money on yet.
Right.
Does it,
I know we had like a pet parade in there for, I think it was $5,000.
does
We
it
haven't
make,
done it, or are we gonna do it, or what, you see what I'm saying?
does it make sense for the EDC to still be involved with that, or is that more appropriate for somebody like Shannon Reed and the Chamber?
To be involved in
Supporting
all the events.
festivals and that.
I'm trying to think if I don't think I've ever worked somewhere where the EDC's been involved in this deeply in sponsoring special events.
It seems like the only thing we really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like say,
agree.
we don't have any other plans to put the money out for.
I know, yeah.
There's nothing, there's no mobility projects.
I mean,
there's no.
We've just outgrown this. We're not
Right.
putting on parades and things like that anymore. Let's just be.
I would imagine it's the EDC is doing the special events just because the city didn't have the capacity to do it
Right.
themselves.
Where I would think maybe the Chamber is more appropriate for something like that.
Could be, or we could bring it
Or
in-house.
maybe, yeah, something, a different division within the city.
Yeah,
Now,
Well, I
the
can see
lady
EDC
that we're
funding
talking
something.
about that is doing the events, Patty, EDC is paying half of her salary?
I don't know the ratio, but I know they're paying some, yeah.
Right, that's what was in both budgets last year, the EDC agreed to fund half the position, and again, that's,
Right.
you know, without knowing the exact dollars, the intention was that the Public Works Department, or the admin, the general fund was going to pay for half the salary to try and, you know, institute a little more of a Parks and Rec, you know, function, but the new council seems to not want to move toward doing anything with Parks and Rec other than what we have now. But the events side was, I think, you know, to me, it was mainly the larger events, the Christmas parade,
Right.
things like that, but, you know, to the one-offs that, you know, never really materialized, I think might have been a pet project of, you know, a former, you know, events person or something that, you know, had a good idea for it, but just never moved it forward.
I think you're right, though, Wade. I think at some point it's something that needs to be handed off back to the city to manage.
Just so Gary knows, and Carol and I go to a lot of the chamber, and you go to these, especially the Chick-fil-A's on the first Wednesday and things like that. I noticed early on, before I became mayor actually, there was a very low number of inside our city people even there at all. So that's, you know, looking at events and going through chamber and those types of things and getting our people interested in chamber activities is going to be a chore, getting them pulled in. And of course, part of our big issue, and it's been said many times before, is downtown especially, we have an overabundance of insurance and real estate and those types of things, and we don't have the, you know, and again, that goes to how that all fits together economic-wise and strategies with TIF to make that revitalization happen. That's what we're missing. That whole thing has to get connected somehow.
So in regards to that, could we, the guys that we've talked about before, we got a guy in our backyard that did a pretty good job in Navasota. Within one of these meetings or the workshops, invite Brad Stafford to.
Sure.
I mean, he's provided that, hey, I'll do it, you know, for free, just to come and help, you know, guide you on the right direction. Just provide some of the information on the grants, how they did it.
Right.
You know.
Well, at least we know what to look for in the person that we hire, so we can hold them to account. I mean, we
Well,
don't,
yeah.
we don't even know what to,
Right.
what,
Well,
you know, what does normal look like?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think it would just be informative, if anything, you know.
Absolutely.
Will you ask that lady tomorrow from Navasota if the EDC pays for those events in Navasota that they have?
I mean, the events and festivals, they have a true
Yeah.
reason to do them. I mean, they're great. Yeah, I just don't know if the EDC should be heading that.
It seems like this, keep having these conversations every time about, is it the parties, I mean, is it the events, or is it downtown, or do we want to educate? Can we have this discussion during like the strategic document? That's when we can get into the nitty gritty, like, do we want to focus on downtown? How do we want to do that? Do we want to focus on events? How do we do that? Who does it? And maybe we can just do another workshop just dedicated to,
Yeah, we can't have that conversation here.
yeah.
I mean, it's just the dynamic's different. We need to dedicate a couple hours to sit down and just
Yeah.
get some coffee and,
Yeah,
Start
just hash out
getting
what do
into
we
the
want
stuff,
to
yeah.
focus on and how do we achieve these goals?
Yep.
I would love that. So, okay.
Sounds good.
I'll ask her about that. I'll get a copy of their budget too.
And as far as like paying for this new director, does that require like a budget amendment of some sort? How do we?
I think we put it in for next year's budget.
Okay.
It's coming up in October 1, so
Okay,
we're deep enough into this year where I think we could just plan on doing that for next year.
okay.
Do you have any dates for MEDC's budget
Not yet.
workshops?
Not yet. Our new finance director is starting on the 17th, so when she gets here, we'll start digging into all that stuff. And I don't know what you guys typically do during the budget, but I'll reach out to somebody and we'll get together and start looking at that. What do you guys typically do, Dave?
You put it together for us and then we just look at it?
I would prefer to do it that way.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, how do you guys typically do it?
Dave?
So this is my first time to really be that involved. Again, so Becky would put the budget together, but again, it was, through a series of a couple workshops where,
Right.
you guys would identify.
We would go line item, but
Okay.
we usually had it already done for us.
Okay.
I think
And then if we
we're-
didn't think that was enough, we added. If we thought it was too much, we took away.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple, just, you know this, it's a matter of taking last year's numbers and adding
Right.
it in there and deciding. So we can also do that during the strategic planning session. We can take a look at our budget and decide if it's an activity you guys want to do or if it's something you don't want to do. But yes, I can put that together.
And the committee is for the director position and also going through the bylaws? Is it two things we're doing here?
It's up to y'all. I mean, my thought was just the director position. If you guys want to take a look at bylaws, I can get some examples together. I think that's a great idea. If you guys want to do that through
Yeah,
the
let's
subcommittee.
knock it all out at one time.
Okay.
That way we come back to the directors with,
Well, if we're talking about hiring someone, we need to have that set.
yeah, it needs to be put in
Yeah,
bed
it needs to be done.
anyway about the same time, yeah. I agree completely.
Okay.
Good question. Do we have anything else? Anything else, Dave? Are we good? Gary, anything?
I'm good.
That's it then. Okay.
I appreciate you guys being open to this.
Do I make a?
This is great.
We have to make a motion. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's been motioned and seconded that we adjourn the meeting at 6:51. And this motion is amendable, debatable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We adjourn.
Awesome job, Mr. Vice.
Yeah.